Hey guys, Michaelantonio here. Man, I gotta tell you, times are so exciting now. I'm gonna tell you that, since Trump came into office, you have a lot of great things to look forward to. And I know that some of you may not agree with me. You bought all the propaganda by the establishment in Washington. And by the way, I'm not just talking about Democrats, I'm talking about both parties. There's a lot of very old guard type leadership, senators, congressmen, bureaucrats. They like the grip of power that they have on the American people. And so when somebody like Trump comes along, they will do anything in their power to try to stop him because they love their power and they like the money and the perks that come with it. So I want you to start thinking along that line instead of having this red versus blue argument, which is just an old, tired argument, doesn't really mean anything anymore. Um, you know, all these things that you hear about Trump. Now, I'm not saying Trump is an angel by any means, he's not. But what I would say to you is that he is definitely not the monster that is portrayed by, the people that are saying all these terrible things. He's just not. Look, all of these people, and I've said this before, I'll always say this because I believe this with all my heart, that people with money, I don't care if you're Donald Trump, I don't care if you're a senator or anybody, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whoever you are, if you're rich and you have any degree of power, there are things that you are going to do that the average person simply can't do. Some of it's going to be illegal. Some of it is going to be, very morally questionable, unethical. Those things are going to happen. That's what power and money afford you if that's the position that you are in. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the way it works. You and I are not going to stop that. But, so what I want to do, and what I'm going to try to do in videos that I make for you, I want to try to talk about the positives of what we have going on here. Instead of, constantly thinking about all these bad things that are happening or that one side is saying is happening, the other side saying, no, it's not, liar, liar, pants on fire. I don't care. Those fights are not really producing any kind of real good change. So let's focus on things that are going to bring real positive change for you. That's really all that's important. We're trying to produce something that's going to help the average American and make us a little bit happier people every day. Because let's be honest, in the last few years, it's been pretty rotten. And you can try to blame one party or the other or this or that. Look, I don't care anymore. I really don't. Let's focus on the positives. And of course, this particular thing that I'm going to talk about is something that I've been thinking about all my life. I mean, really, I think we all should have. Many of you maybe have too. But it bears conversation at the very least. It's about Trump's proposal to eliminate the income tax, the federal income tax. How awesome would that be? People say, where's the government going to get all their money? How are they going to help everybody? And blah, blah. Look, until 1913, we didn't have a federal income tax. The federal government got most of their money through tariffs. And guess what? America was more prosperous than they are now. So why do you propose that they started charging an income tax to people? Yeah, they wanted more money. They definitely wanted to kind of expand the federal government. And that's another thing. The federal government was much smaller than it is now. It has grown to such a degree that it's become very, very fat and sluggish. Just a very bad situation for everybody. So I think that what we need to do is focus on, what we can do to make things better for us as Americans, instead of what are we going to do to help the government. So I understand what JFK said. Remember when JFK said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Well, I don't think he meant for the federal government. And I think that's what we have to understand. This whole thing about, the government needs to be enriched. We need to send them more tax money. The whole concept of tax the rich, they're not paying their fair share. Look, the government's not doing their fair share for us to preserve our freedoms, our liberties, and our prosperities. You have to understand something. The government's job is not to provide us with free crap, okay? Or money or all these things. The federal government is designed to protect our freedoms, mainly. Yes, once in a while they can help the downtrodden, but really, that was also designed, our government, our entire American way was really designed for individuals to help other individuals, or for churches to provide charity, charitable organizations. It wasn't designed for the federal government to collect money from taxpayers and then do that. Because what happens in that situation is you get a lot of corruption. And we see that today. We see corruption everywhere. And a lot of that is because, again, when the government becomes so large that nobody can stop it, can shut it down, what happens? Utter and total corruption, no accountability. That's what's happening today. Our federal government is not accountable to anyone or anything. It's time that stopped. And that's one of the reasons why, when Trump came along, it kind of excited me, because all I care about is what kind of freedom and prosperity am I going to be able to get now that I don't have this encumbrance of oppressive government on my shoulders. Because, and you may say, well, gee, if you're not making a lot of money to begin with, you're not going to be taxed that highly. It's not that much on you. There's so many other things, the regulations, the taxes. The regulations alone create burdens on companies. And what do companies do? They hire people, individuals like me and like you. And so we have to consider that. You cannot have this attitude that, that these people, that are building businesses so that people can work there, that they must be somehow oppressed by the government and by the IRS so that they can produce all this extra tax revenue for everybody else. That's not the way that works. If you want a productive society, you have to have a working society, people who are producing things. We haven't reached that level of what we call scarcity, where there is, where we essentially have no more scarcity. Where you don't have to work so hard to produce things. Yes, we've definitely made a lot of strides in that area, I believe. But we are still in a place in history where people still have to work. They have to go to work. They have to produce things with their hands. We have a lot of machines that can do that, but you still have to fix those machines and monitor those machines. So we're not at a level yet where we can say, well, we don't really need to work so hard, or you still need everybody out there doing something. And with AI coming along and all these things that are coming, these technologies, maybe at some point we will be at almost zero scarcity, where we literally don't have to lift our finger to do much of anything, which that has another whole set of problems too. So it's anything that you get, you're going to have to give up something else. So really, a lack of scarcity can produce so many other problems. If you ever watch the cartoon Wall-E, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's believe me, you'll see what's coming if you watch that movie. But what I'm trying to say here is that Donald Trump is proposing ideas whose time has come. These ideas are revolutionary, yet, we shouldn't have even had to come to this. We should have never had a federal income tax. This stuff should not have happened. But now we can fix that. Now we can do something to make a necessary change. So you might say, well, how are we going to do it? How are we going to accomplish this? Now, I'm not suggesting that we just stop income tax this year and be done with it. Because, again, it has to be studied. We have to figure out ways to mitigate certain areas. Now, this is one of the reasons why DOGE came into existence, the Department of Government Efficiency. It came into place so that we can reduce, the waste, fraud, and abuse of our federal government. Wasting taxpayer dollars on nonsense, things that are not really helping anybody. So we have to go in there and we have to, first of all, you know, empty out all the trash. Get rid of all the bad cost, all the things that are really not necessary. And then we can begin to say, okay, now that we have this framework, can we do this without an income tax? And then how? Well, again, we go back to a tariff system. Now, the way Trump was proposing this is we would start with a system where any non-U.S. companies not, operating in the U.S., would pay a tariff to import their products into the United States. That's one thing. That's one way to produce revenue for the federal government. Remember, we did this before 1913. And believe me, we were more prosperous then than we are now. So this is what we have to consider as we do this. But what I would say is that, I don't think this is going to happen overnight. First of all, Trump can't just snap his fingers and make it happen. That's not the way this works. He doesn't have the authority to just stop income tax. However, he can convince Congress to make a law. Congress has the power to tax and to end taxation. And so he has to convince Congress, right now, because we have a Republican majority, we have a much better chance of accomplishing that. However, there are people that are against Trump, including Republicans, and they will stop Trump. Even if it's a good idea, they will do it to basically thumb their nose at Trump, to say, we're not going to give you anything. Which, again, that is so short-sighted and incredibly selfish and childish of these people to do this stuff. So, we need to forget about that. So I think that going into these 4 years of Donald Trump, we need to consider that should be top of the priority list, at least the top 5. Eliminate the income tax, abolish the IRS, change our lives forever. Now, look, don't tell me you wouldn't love that. You don't have to fill out tax work, paperwork. Let me tell you something. That's worse for a lot of Americans who don't really pay high taxes. One of the worst things is trying to gather all of your tax forms and deal with the preparation and getting it out to them on time and all these things. It's annoying. It's a lot of encumbrance. It's something that we should not be, as a people, responsible for. We shouldn't be responsible for all that nonsense. So this is the kind of thing that we can look forward to. So again, just to reiterate, I think this next 4 years, let's be looking for positive things about what's coming here. Trump is here to revolutionize and reimagine the way we look at our government and the way our government treats us, how they should have. Remember, our founding fathers did not form America so that the government was something that we bowed down to. Remember, that was the old way. That was the way it had been done since the beginning of civilization. Everybody looked up to government and worshipped them as some kind of a ethereal power. Don't ever question the government. Don't do it. Now Trump wants to change that back to what our founding fathers here in America decided. They said, no, America is not for the government. America is not for the people to fear government. America's here for the government to fear the people. The government is beholden to us. They work for us, not the other way around. And that's really the way it should have always been. And yet we got away from that. You've got these people who are just I'm telling you, their whole mentality, and look, ever since I've been a child, I've noticed this. There's been this bureaucratic system, a bureaucratic regime, and we're not getting into party. It has nothing to do with party. It's been done on both sides, where you have a system where it's like this is the way things are. We are to treat all of our government officials as statesmen. These people are to be revered, and it's like, come on, man, you work for us. You are essentially, every single government official is our employee. It's our employee. They work for us. And so we aren't to treat them as some kind of a statesman. We're supposed to treat them like our employees. Oh, we want you to go get rid of our taxes? Do your job, make it happen. You know, don't overburden us. That's what we said. Hey, when you go over there and make those votes, make sure the bills that you sign into law are not overburdensome on the American public. They don't hurt us. Oh, you're ignoring us? Okay, you're out. That's it. You know, that's what primaries are for. That's what impeachments are for. You know, these are the kind of things that you know, people, they think we have to worship these people. And no, they work for us. If they screw up, they need to be criticized. They need to be criticized. And I'm going to make another video, you know, thinking about that, in that vein of thought. We can go to J6. I want to make a video on J6 and my thoughts about the entire J6 phenomenon, what, you know, how the Democrats handled it, how I think it was a huge psyop. I mean, the whole thing was just so many things. If you really pay attention to what goes on in politics, you will understand why it was such a mess, and there's so much more to it than meets the eye. And I don't want to belabor it right now. I'll make another video on that, but I think that we need to, you know, do not believe what you hear in the media. Stop listening to these pundits on X that are just trying to stir up division, hatred, all these... Stop. It's very simple. In America, the people are number one. The people are supreme. We run the show, all of us. When there's a problem, we redress our grievances to them directly. Now, because of technology, we can speak to them in many different ways. We have many different, you know, methods online, by phone, you know, obviously email is part of online. In person, you go to the Capitol building. You go to Capitol buildings around the country in different states. You actually march there, by the way, peacefully and patriotically. This is how you do it. This is how we've been doing it since the beginning. This is the American way. But I don't want to get too much into that. That's just a lot of people get angry. You know, as you know, I mean, people get angry about this because they've been conditioned. They've been conditioned to think a certain way, and it's, you know, again, what is it? Joseph Goebbels from Germany, the Nazi Party. He came up with the concept of propaganda. If you keep repeating a lie enough, people begin to believe it. And this is the mantra of our government. This is what they do. Many people in the media are getting this across. They're teaching, just keep repeating something and everybody's going to believe it. And guess what? They're not wrong. People do begin to believe it, but you have to think for yourself. Critical thinking is very important. Don't just listen to what they tell you. Think about what's happening. Look at every side of the argument. Look at every situation that you see. Look at history. See how one side handled it. See how the other side handled it. That's how we have to do this. And look, it's not easy. I'm not telling you that you're going to figure everything out on day one or, you know, in a short time. It could take a long time for you to kind of figure out what's happening. You know, but anyway, I leave you with this. I think that this is great news, man. Lowering the income tax is going to be, you know, either lowering it down to almost nothing or eliminating completely. This is going to be really good for America. It really is, guys. I don't think you even understand how awesome this is going to turn out for the American people. Now, do I think it's going to happen right away? No. In fact, I think it's probably not going to happen maybe until the next president. It could take up to 8 years to finally implement this whole thing. It might be rolled out slowly in pieces, which I'm okay with, just as long as we get to the final result of, hey, no more burdening us here. The federal government is burdening us. And now there's one thing that I agree with Kamala Harris about. We should definitely be unburdened by what has been, right? I mean, come on. The federal government has been against us from day one. And I'm not saying they have a personal beef with us. No, it's nothing personal. They're just greedy. They just want their power. They don't want resistance, and they don't have any accountability. That needs to change. And whether you love or whether you hate Donald Trump, the bottom line is he is actually working for us. He is actually trying to implement policies that give us more freedom, give us a little bit more power to be able to tell the government, hey, you have gone too far, stop, and we're going to put the clamps on you now. This is what he is. This is what he has done. I don't care. Look, his personal life, all those things they talk about, all those false allegations, and hey, none of the, if you really, really study them, you find out that these people are lying, okay? But that doesn't mean he didn't do bad things in his life. Again, let's go back to Bill Clinton, which is another thing I talk about. You know, the Democrats back in the 90s. Look, I was back there. I know all about it. The Democrats, every time Bill Clinton did something really, really rude, really unacceptable, what would they say? The Democrats would say, "Oh, we're not going to worry about his personal life or any of that stuff, any character flaws. All we're going to focus on is policy." Well, guess what? Turnabout is fair play. Turnabout is fair play. It's time that we focus on the policies that are going to help Americans. So, guys, let's do that. Anyway, I've been talking too long. If you let me talk forever, I will. So I'm going to shut up now. But before I go, remember, please like this video, subscribe to me, and please go to my website. I have all the links down there, michaelantonio.biz. I also have a web page there that provides you with certain, passive income opportunities if you need some help. A lot of different things for you to look at there. And, sometimes I do get into, like, the issue of cryptocurrency and stuff, but I'm not getting into that right now. But please, go to my website. I need you to subscribe. I need you to like the video. And please, comment. Give me your thoughts on this entire tax idea of getting rid of the federal income tax. I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. I want to soak up your knowledge and see if maybe it's a good idea, bad idea. Please let me know. Do not hesitate to comment after, of course, you like this video and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. Ciao, babies, and you have a great night.